Welcome to Midweek. We'd love for you guys to stand and sing with us. I lived hard on the wire, hand in the fire for so long, but you showed me better, a new kind of love. It's ever the one I want. I'm lifting you higher, higher. There's nothing that I'd rather do. The sweet elevation of praises. There's no one I love more than you. I never knew a love like this before. The kind of life that I cannot find on my own. I've seen the world, but I have never been so sure. I want your heart, God. I just wanna be where you are. I just wanna be where you are. Like nothing I've seen, my bodies of dreams don't come close, but I've never been better than living like this. I cannot resist you, Lord. I'm lifting you high. change. Hey. 'Cause I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of symphonies in my ears. It's like holy water. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. Yes, it is. It's like the sound of the symphonies in my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water.
How you guys doing this evening? How you doing? Well, we're in our next week of Lessons of the Lake, and we're really talking about that sometimes we can be in a storm and it seems like God has forgotten about us or he's left us. But the truth of the matter is that God is right there in the storm with us, and he's not just with us in the storm, but he's also our anchor of peace. So we wanted to introduce this new song to you and sing it, and hopefully you'll jump in and sing it with us. Let's sing it. He's walking on the water. He'll calm your raging seas. No, you don't have to look no further. He's the hope that you need. Oh, if your sails are torn and tattered and the storm just won't cease, take hold of the hand of the Savior, 'cause he's the anchor of There's a way back home for the wandering soul. There's a peaceful calm for the restless one. And if you're so far gone, you can't see the shore, you just lift your eyes and look to the Lord. 'Cause he's walking on the water. He'll calm your raging seas. No, you don't have to look no farther. He's the hope that you need. Oh, when your sails are torn and tattered and your storm just won't cease, take hold of the hand of the Savior, 'cause he's the anchor of peace. Oh, he's the anchor of peace. I was breaking down at the end of my road when the sweetest sound silenced the noise. Oh, he's a Prince of Peace. The waves know his voice, so just lift your eyes and look to the Lord. 'Cause he's walking on the water. He'll calm your raging seas. No, you don't have to look no farther. He's
from the peaceful shore, falling for a hopeless floor. Oh, the wreckage of the fall, there was no way. Then I seen the lighthouse. Oh, I was thinking when I felt your hand, you placed my feet upon dry land. But there was no way, love made a way out. Oh, I thank God for the
in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation will never let me down. I'll put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation will never let me down. God of Abraham, God of covenant, faithful promises, time and time again, you have proven you do just what you say. Through the storms may bend, the winds may blow, steadfast, and when my heart will speak a word to
Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness.
worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. Sing that you're here. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. I worship. You are here. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. I worship. Say way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. You are promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop, even when
Don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when
We don't have to want for anything. We don't have to need for anything. 'Cause you're more than enough. Ooh. Lord, our shepherd, we shall not want. Lead us to green pastures and beside still waters. That's why we call you, yeah. Way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Can you help me say, way make,
Miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
one more time, way maker.
Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
And I believe you've overcome it. I will lift my song of praise for all you've done. And I believe you've overcome, and I will lift my song of praise for all you've done. And I believe you've overcome, and I will lift my song of praise for all you've done. One more time, and I
Believe you've overcome. I will lift my song of praise for all you've done.
'cause this is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how this is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how it may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you. Come on, you sing it for yourself, waymaker. Oh, waymaker, yeah. Come on, one more time, all over this building. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, God, we trust you. God, we trust you. So many times we get caught up in our storm. We get caught up in the things moving around us, almost like it's a hurricane just spinning. It almost hypnotizes us to lose focus. But one thing I know is that it may look like we're surrounded by a situation, but you're standing right there in the middle with us. Saying, I'm right here. I'm right here in this storm. God, we thank you for never forsaking us. Even when it seems like all is lost, you're still a very present help in the time of trouble. You are our refuge. We can hide under the shadow of your wing, God, and there we can be safe. So God, we thank you for your safety. Thank you for being our safe house. As Jennifer sang earlier, we thank you for being our lighthouse, always guiding us back home. You're guiding us back home even when it's foggy. It's hard to see. You're still shining that light. It's so bright, leading us back to your love. So God, I thank you. We're so grateful for your presence. We're so grateful for this time to sing to you. We love you and we thank you. Prepare our hearts for what we're going to hear. In Jesus' name, amen.
I have to tell you, I'm going to need a moment. I wasn't expecting that. Our church in New York City, that song Waymaker has become the anthem. And our congregation wants to sing it every Sunday, and they want to sing it twice as long as we just sang it. And I know some of you are thinking that was a really long song. But I just got overwhelmed because, as I've shared before, maybe some of you haven't heard this, but our church is 95% made up of women and men who are homeless. And half of them are addicted. And they come in with all kinds of physical problems. And you should hear a room like that sing that song. And just like Aaron did at the end, the worship leaders will stop singing and he'll just let the room sing. And I'm in the room and I'm listening to these women and men who have nothing. And they still have nothing. And they're saying, even when I don't see it, I know you're working, even when I don't feel it, because he is the waymaker. And then we have a seat in the stands to watch one by one Jesus make a way. To break addiction and just all the brokenness in their lives and the power. And I see him as a waymaker. And so I hope tonight, wherever you feel stuck or unsure or whatever, that those words are become more real. Even the singing them, that's why we sing them. So that we can call out what is true and is real. So thank you. They're all gone now, but thank you for that. I could go home right now, but I have a job to do, so I'm going to do it. We're going to receive our offering right now. And, I was thinking about how amazing it is that I can take some money. And, God owns it all, right? When we come to Jesus, we understand that he owns all of it, and he deserves all of it. We want to give all of it. And then we give some of our resources back. And in doing so, he takes something like money and turns it into a way. He turns it into a miracle. He turns it into a provision. He turns it into hope. He turns it into peace. It's just an amazing thing. And so that's why we do this every week. We're not really after your money. We're after miracles. We're after opportunity to see God work. And so thank you for your participation with us. And we know as you give, all the ways you can see on the screen through our app or website, or mail in a check or drop one today. We just thank you for that. And I want to welcome you tonight to Midweek service. I love this service. I'm so excited to be here. If you're watching from home, yeah, let's clap now. Why not? And if you're watching from home, or because of the beauty of technology, you might be watching this a week from now or a year from now, we really pray that Jesus is lifted up, as he already has been. And in my message, that I can lift up Jesus, and that all of us will be drawn to him in the beauty of who he is. So, but here's where we're going to start. I don't know if you know, but 10% of the population of the United States has a phobia. And phobias are serious things, and I hope none of you are in the grips of any kind of a phobia. But when I studied psychology in grad school, I was shocked to discover that there were literally hundreds of phobias, or maybe even 1,000. I thought, fear of spiders, fear of, whatever. But there's hundreds of them. And so I did a little research, because we're going to talk about a fear tonight that ranks number 6 in all the list of fears. But before we get there, I found some kind of intriguing phobias. And I'm not trying to make light of this, but these are intriguing. And I wanted to share these with you because these will help you. They all, in some way, can connect to church attendance. So you can use these. You can tell someone, based on what you do, that you might suffer from this phobia. So the first one was homiliophobia, and that's a fear of sermons. By the way, I'm not going to make any of these up. They're actually in the book. So I'm going to warn you right now that a sermon is coming, in case that's you. All right, the second one is octophobia, and it's a fear of opening your eyes. So you can use that one in church because you can sleep, and then if someone confronts you, you can say, no, I actually wasn't sleeping, I have octophobia, and then they're going to have to walk away and just give you grace. All right, this one is really kind of scary to me. It's vestophobia. It's fear of clothes or wearing clothes. So I wanted to bring that one up in case any of you have that. It's going to be very disruptive if you have to act on that right now, so please keep your clothes on. All right, and then this one to me, though, is the oddest one, and I'm not making this up, and I can't pronounce it because it has, I think, 37 letters, and so I'm going to put it up on the screen. This is a real phobia. Anybody ever seen that one before? Now, I'm going to put the definition up. I'm going to put the definition up. Can you believe that? I don't believe it. Yeah, someone just said, no, I researched. I said, this has got to be a joke. Can you imagine the group in the room trying to name phobias? And they're writing them down, you know, like anacrophobia, that's a Latin of spiders, fear of spiders, and claustrophobia, closed spaces, whatever. And some people have fear of long words. What should we name it? Do you think we can get away with this? Let's just write this really wrong word. Why wouldn't they put like word phobia or something like that? That's actually mean. When someone has that and the psychologist diagnoses it, he goes, what do I have, doctor? And then he says it, he just freaked him out. He should go to jail for doing that. So anyhow, just having a little fun. So the number 6 ranked phobia is actually a fear of storms, especially thunderstorms. And I'm telling you that now because we're going to go into a storm tonight with the disciples, with Jesus in the boat. It's going to take place in the middle of a storm, and we're going to take this from Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 40. And you can write that down, look at the whole passage later. We're going to kind of take it in chunks tonight. And we're going to go out in just a few moments. We're going to go out into the Sea of Galilee with Jesus and the disciples in a boat, and a storm is going to come. Now, I mentioned when we started this series, Lessons on the Lake, a month ago, that I absolutely love water. I love sailing. I love being out in the water. I don't want to just stay on the dock. When I'm on a dock, I'm looking out at the lake. I want to be out there. I want to get out there. I just love it. And I've spent many, many hours and many, many experiences out on the lakes, and yes, I've encountered some amazing storms. And one of the worst lakes in the Great Lakes to get into a storm is Lake Erie, for a variety of reasons. And I've been out in Lake Erie in some pretty bad storms, but none matches this one I'm going to tell you about. So I had a friend named Steve who owned about a 27-foot sailboat, and we were out there with my brother in Lake Erie, and we went into a port on the Canadian shore called Kingsville. And you can see a picture up on the screen of this beautiful little port, and it's looking out from the port out into Lake Erie, and you can see how nice and calm it is. And we went in there and had lunch in this really nice restaurant in the harbor, and we got back on the boat early afternoon. We're heading out into Lake Erie, and we got a little ways out into the lake, motoring out, and it's about 31 miles. We were going to go to Pelee Island. So about 31 miles. It was a light wind. It will take us a good part of the afternoon to get out there. And so I was up on the deck, and I got the jib up. And I looked out across, kind of to the southwest across the lake, and I saw the most ominous clouds I've ever seen. Black, ugly black, swirling, and I saw lightning bolts. And we're going right toward it, and we're still motoring because we're getting the sails up. And so I turn around, I'm out on the bow of the boat, and I turn around, and Steve, the owner, was at the helm, and I said, hey, Steve, check it out. And so Steve kind of goes and he looks. And Steve's a very slow, deliberate speaker. And so he didn't say anything for a moment. And then he said, well, we better. Now, I'm going to stop there and say, what would any normal person say? We better turn around and go back to port. Here's what he said. We better get up the storm sails. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But he was serious. He still goes. So I have to pull the jib down. I go up into the forward hatch. I pull out the storm sails, a smaller jib. I'm getting up on the bow. I'm putting it on, and I'm going back to the halyard, and I'm going to pull the sail up and get about there, and the storm hits. The wind comes first, and the waves are building. And next thing you know, the rain is coming, and it's horizontal rain, and the waves are getting huge. And I had to put on the safety harness because if you get washed overboard, at least they'll drag you for a while, and you won't get lost at sea. And so he's yelling, clip on your safety harness, and I'm thinking to myself, go back to port. But I put it on, and I'm slipping on the deck, and I'm literally like hanging on, and I got the sail up, and I can't even make it to the back. I'm hanging out onto the lifelines. We're heeling about like this, rain coming. Now there's lightning and thunder. Boom, flash. Absolutely terrifying. I'm telling you, I was absolutely terrified out there, and we hung on, And actually, I think I have a picture because Lake Erie, because it's shallow, and it comes up quickly. Their waves get big really quick. This is I didn't take this picture that day, but this is an actual picture of a wave. They're very steep, close together waves. And so in addition to the heel and the wind and the waves and the spray coming over, we're just going plowing through these waves. And I actually was so worried. And in fact, as it turned out, the boat sunk and we were all lost at sea and we've never been seen again. That's what it felt like was going to happen. It was absolute chaos out there. So when we enter into this story today that occurs in the Sea of Galilee, I actually can literally put myself in that boat and feel what they might have been feeling when they decided to wake up Jesus and see if he could help them deal with it. Now, I want to tell you, as we read the Gospels and the stories that are there, there's a question we should really always ask ourselves. Why is this story here? Because John, when he was finishing up his gospel, said, if I were asked to write down everything that Jesus said and did, there would not be enough books to contain it. So you understand, when we get Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, we're getting like the Cliff Notes. We're not getting the whole book. So anything that's in there, God was very intentional that this story would be included. So I want you to think about that as we move through this event that we're looking at tonight. I wonder why this story is here. Because we'll probably never be out in a boat in the middle of a storm with Jesus in it, actually physically with us. But he wanted this story to be there for our instruction for some way. And so I want you to think in the context of your life. I want you to actually join me in the boat with the disciples and with Jesus and think through in the context of your life. Because God wanted us in Macomb County in March of 2021 to have this story. And even to sing the songs. You notice the songs talked about the sea and the storm and the calming, Jesus bringing calm. So what does Jesus want to say to us tonight? Jesus, I'm just going to ask, teach us tonight. I'm not the teacher, you're the teacher. So teach us tonight, Jesus. Please teach us. So as I said, this story tonight takes place in the Sea of Galilee, and it begins with an invitation, a very simple one from Jesus. And then in this story, there are 4 questions. So if you're going to write anything down tonight, there's 4 questions. 2 are asked by the disciples, and 2 are asked by Jesus. And we're going to find that I think the meaning of the story is bound up in especially 2 of these 4 questions. So here's where we begin. The invitation is very simple from Jesus. He says, let's go. Let's go. Let's go to the other side, he said, but let's go. And that meant going in a boat. So I want you to think in the context of your life. If you are a follower of Jesus, he will never stop saying to you, let's go. Let's go. He is always saying, let's go. Because Jesus is not static. He's moving. That's why we're called followers. That's why he said to his disciples, he didn't say, come stay with me. He said, follow me. So here he says to them, let's go. So I want you to notice that everything that's going to happen next happened because they followed him. The very fact that they were in a storm happened because they followed him. We're not shore dwellers. We're not landlubbers. We are followers, and we go out with Jesus wherever he goes. And it's funny, there was an old saying, maybe it's a new saying still, people say it, the safest place in the world is in the center of God's will. You ever heard that? You know what? It depends on how you define safety. Because Jesus wants to take us into danger. If you want safety, stay home, stream Netflix, get some soft drinks and some chips and dip, and spend your life that way. But I don't believe that's the life that he has called us to. He says, let's go. Let's go. So as we read this story, keep in mind that they're out there in trouble because he said, let's go. And they went. And I think you and I will never experience all that Jesus has for us unless we're willing to jump into the boat when he says, let's go. And he's going to say this to us. He's saying it to us all the time. And the fear that we're going to find in this story is a fear that's very particular to following Jesus. By the way, the first week we did this a month ago, we called the message Astonished. This one I've entitled Terrified. Okay? It's also could be translated amazement. So if you read your Mark, you read this passage in Mark, it's going to say that they were amazed or they were filled with amazement. But the word is actually, in the Greek, it's actually they were frightened with great fear. So I think terror is a better word to put it than amazement. When you're frightened, it's not enough to say you're frightened. It's not enough to say you have great fear. They said they were frightened with great fear, which means they were really afraid It's something that occurred there out in the middle of the lake. So they get in the boat with him, and they head into the lake, and it says other boats went with them, so there's kind of a fleet out there. And then the squall comes up so bad that it threatened to swamp the boat. So it's like if this is the boat here, the waves are now coming over the side. And once the water gets up to the top where it's the same on the inside as it is the outside, you're in trouble. Remember a month ago, the same thing happened, but it was fish in there. And they were afraid they were going to sink. So here we are twice with the disciples, and they're afraid that they're going to end up at the bottom of the sea. So that's where they are. They're out there. Now, can I give you just a real quick lesson on the Sea of Galilee? Because I love seas and oceans. I know why Lake Erie gets choppy really quick. Well, the Sea of Galilee is a very particular geographic situation or environment around it that would cause storms to come up very quickly and very violently. First of all, it's 700 feet below sea level. We're at about 68 feet above sea level right here, I think, if I remember right. This is 700 feet below sea level, and it's surrounded by mountains. I want to show you a picture. This is actually of the terrain around the Sea of Galilee, and you can see some rain falling. You can see this on the one shore there's some hills and mountains around it. And what would happen in the Sea of Galilee, especially during warm weather, is that during the day, it would get very, very hot on the surface of the lake or the sea. And then as evening would come, it would cool off. What happens to hot air? Where does it go? It rises. And as it would rise up, the cool air from the mountains would rush down these gorges onto the lake. And it's a perfect environment for strong winds, for hail, for rain, and for lightning and thunder. It was just made for storms. And so you could push off the shore, because that's exactly what they did. They were on the west side or east side. They're heading to the west side, or I think it's the other way around. And I'm sure when they pushed off, just like me leaving Kingsville, Ontario, it looked really nice. And all of a sudden, there is a storm that's coming in. This is really a killer of the storm. So picture what's going on now. Pretty small boat, bigger than that one, because there's probably at least 13 people in the boat. They probably have a single sail with some lines. It's not too tough to sail this. And they get out there, and now this storm hits. And these men, by the way, many of them were accustomed to this, so they knew what to do. So the fact that they freak out tells you that this was like the perfect storm. Like it was a big one. And I think probably most of them were resting, some were sleeping. Maybe it would have only taken a couple guys to actually steer the boat and to deal with the sails, with the sheets and the lines and everything. But by now, by the time the storm is really raging, everybody's awake. And they're bailing water, they're adjusting the sails, they're reducing sail, they're changing their heading. At this point, you don't care where you're going. You get in a bad storm, I don't care where I was heading. I didn't care about Pelee Island, I wanted land. Where's the closest land? Let's get off this lake and out of this storm. So they were just trying to survive now and bailing water, doing anything to keep from being capsized. They're shouting to each other to be heard over the wind. They're really scared, if you can picture that. Now, Jesus, we're told in this passage, what was he doing? Managing the sails? Let me help you steer. No, he was in the stern of the boat. Where's the stern? All right, you don't know bow, stern, starboard, port? Back of the boat. Okay, someone said no. Okay, real quick boat lesson. Port is left. Just remember four letters. L-E-F-T, left, port, for starboard, board has 5 letters, right has 5 letters, so left, right. Bow is the front, and whoever's up front, you bow down to them because they're important, right? So like if you wanted to bow down to me right now, you could. I'm up front. And stern, I had trouble coming up with the one for stern to help people remember, so I said, if you get in trouble and you have a father who's stern, he will hit you on the back side, okay? So that's the back of the boat. It was worth coming tonight just for that, wasn't it? I didn't see anybody taking notes on that. I'm really shocked. Okay, so he's in the stern of the boat, and he's sleeping. By the way, the stern is the bumpiest part of the boat. I was sailing with Joe Graney one time. I can't see if Joe's here. I think Joe's here, or his wife is here. Cappy's here at least. And he was in the back of my sailboat, and we were out in Lake St. Clair getting into it. It was really rough. He was riding on the stern, standing up on the stern, hanging out for dear life, and yelling like a little kid on a roller coaster. It was so fun. It's the bumpiest place, but Jesus is sleeping, which tells me he's not really too concerned about what's going on. And so the disciples now they decide to wake him up. Wouldn't you love to hear that discussion? No, Peter, you do it. No, John, you do it. No, Bartholomew, I'm not going to go wake him up. He's going to think I'm afraid. Yeah, we are afraid. So eventually, one of them goes and they wake up Jesus, and we encounter here the first question. First question, this one coming from the disciples, is this. Think about this, saying this to Jesus. Don't you care? Don't you care that we're going to drown? That's the full sentence. Don't you care? All right, let's not be too hard on them. How many times have you or I started a prayer that way? Something happens, and our first words, before we can even catch them, are, God, don't you care what's happening? Because you could have stopped this. You could have prevented it. You could have told me to go another way. We could have stayed on shore. Don't you care? Their first impulse when they're in trouble is to doubt the goodness of God. Don't you care? Don't you care if we drown? And so they did what I often do, which is that the storm is an evidence of God's inactivity. What are you up to? Why are you not doing something? Don't you care? And care would be evidenced by absence of danger for them, of anything bad going on. They didn't ask for help. They didn't wake them up and say, Jesus, could you help us get to the other side? Or help us, here's a bucket, could you bail water? They said, don't you care? Now, I want to give you a little warning here, and I'm very serious about this. I want to show you or give you an experience of what it might be like out in the boat in a storm. And this is only going to go for about 10 or 15 seconds. But when we rehearsed it right before, I hadn't heard it or seen it yet. I was standing in the back. I jumped about 6 feet off the ground. So this is going to be loud. And if you have trouble with flashing lights, then close your eyes, even though I told you not to. You can close your eyes, okay? Because we're going to have some lightning and thunder, and especially notice the sound of the wind, okay? So then we get an experience of what happens in this boat that brought terror to the disciples. Okay, so hopefully the team's ready. I'm going to plug my ears a little bit so I don't jump. And here we go. 3 words from Jesus. Quiet. Be still. And it went from that. If we can go to the next one. That's the Sea of Galilee. Both of those pictures were the Sea of Galilee. Did that sound scary a little bit? Right? You could feel everything vibrating. Imagine being miles offshore in the middle of a storm and having that. And you got nowhere to go. And you wake up, Jesus, and your first question is, don't you care? And then Jesus looks around and says, I don't even know if they would have hardly heard him say the words with all that sound. He said, quiet. Be still. And then it went to that. Well, it's not there anymore. Perfectly flat. Now in Lake Erie, when we got to the other side of the storm and the sun came out, you know how long it took for those waves to go flat? The rest of the day. And the wind doesn't just shut off like that. It slowly goes down. So what do you do when you're in that experience? Quiet, be still. And so then he asked them a question. So of our 4 questions, this is the second question. This one comes from Jesus. And he asked 2 back to back. He says, why are you so afraid? Now, I think the answer is obvious, isn't it? We were in a bad storm. We were swamped. We thought we were going to drown. We were moments from drowning, Jesus, and you were sleeping. That's why we thought you didn't care, because you weren't doing anything. But he follows it up. This is question 3. This is Jesus' second question. He says, do you still have no faith? Now, can I ask you to focus on the word still? He didn't say, do you have no faith? He says, do you still have no faith? I wish that word wasn't there, personally, in terms of my own journey, because I go back to that again and again and again in my life. Don't you care? And actually, in next month, we're going to have another experience on the lake where it's going to be about remembering. But that's what that word means, still. He's saying, don't you remember, in a sense? Why do you still doubt? Why do you still not have any faith? I think the second question answers the very first question of the disciples. Fear and faith are incompatible. But what would a faith look like for the disciples in these circumstances? Maybe something like this. Well, before we wake them up, let's remember he did say to us, go. So he wanted us out here. And he did say, let's go to the other side. We're in the middle, but he didn't say, let's go in the middle and sink. He said, let's go to the other side. So we're on our way there. We're having some problems right now. And then maybe we should remember, and if you look at Mark chapter 4, where this is recorded, and rewind a little bit, you'll see, oh, he healed a leper, and they were all there, and they watched a man filled with leprosy healed, and he walked away whole. And then he found a man who was paralyzed, who couldn't walk, and Jesus said, get up and walk. And the man, right with all the 12 disciples there watching this, got up and walked. So who's in the boat with them? A leper healer? A leg healer? Why do you still have no faith? Don't you remember? Do you have amnesia? Did you not just see what happened before we got into the boat? And yet you say, don't you care? You think, I'm going to let you drown out in the middle of the lake? Now, I don't know if the disciples even heard the question, because I think as soon as he said, quiet, be still, and it went still, I think their jaws dropped. Speechless. But then when they do talk, here's what they say, and this is the fourth question. The second one the disciples ask. Who is this? The full sentence is, who is this that even the wind and the waves obey him? They were terrified, it says. And they ask each other, who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. And so how we answer Jesus' question about fear is determined by how we answer this question. Who is this Jesus really? What did they think Jesus was going to do when they woke him up? Suggest a new course of actions, take more sail down, bail the boat? They didn't expect this. And so they were frightened with great fear when he said, peace be still. I want to live in this question for a little bit. Who is this? I want you to live in this question in the context of your life. If you've thrown in your lot with Jesus, you've embraced him as the Son of God, you've said to Jesus, I will follow you, then it's helpful for us to think about who it is that we're actually following. Why are you so afraid? Well, let's think. Jesus has power over nature, elements of the winds and waves because he made them. Creator of the world, creator of the mountains and the gorges where the wind came down, creator of the clouds that brought the rain and the hail and the lightning and the thunder. He's a creator of the wood that was made to build the boat, creator of the human beings that were in the boat, and he's in the boat. Who is this? And I think when the disciples figured this out, it took about as long as it took for the storm to die, instant calm. Nothing ever calms instantly like that. So this was such an amazing, for accomplished, seaworthy guys, this was really strange for them. They were amazed. Fear is about the trouble of this life. Fear is about living in the smaller story of our lives and forgetting who's in the boat with us. It's staying on the shore, maybe carving out the best life we can, avoiding risk, not getting into the boat, playing it safe. And I think fear in the end is not about living at all. It's what I call I'm kind of hanging in there till heaven. But man, is there an adventure between now and heaven? Now back to my original question, why would this story be included in the Bible? Do you think that you're ever going to experience being in a storm and 3 words calm it? I don't think so. I may have been yelling that from the boat in Lake Erie. I can't remember, I was so afraid. Quiet, be still. Didn't work. I don't think that was the meaning of the story for us. I think the meaning of the story is to remember that Jesus is in the boat. In fact, I did a message like this about 15 years ago, and I think that some of you that I know here probably were there for a midweek service. And a week or two later, a T-shirt showed up at my house. Someone made me a T-shirt based on my message. The only time it's ever happened. And I wore it so much that I wore it out. And so when I was getting ready for this message, I love the internet, man. I went on, and it's the first time I've ever designed my own T-shirt. By the way, those of you that have vestophobia, fear of clothing, you're getting really happy right now, okay? So there we go. All right, there's the camera. Let's get out on the dock. See, Jesus is in the boat. All right. And yes, I designed this. I picked the colors. I have hidden talents. By the way, when I would wear this, especially when I first got to New York City down the sidewalk, I got stopped so many times saying, what does that mean? What a great opportunity to tell a story, right? And so I would get out of the pulpit and my Bible and I'd start preaching this. No, I would simply say, I'm with Jesus, there's storms in life, but he's in the boat with me. Very simple way to explain it. This is really a great reminder. And I bought a bunch of them and they're on sale for $99.95 in the lobby after the service today. But to remember that Jesus is in the boat, he invited us there to go to the other side. And because of that, we can live in, I'm not going to say terror now, I'm going to say amazement. If I'm not being amazed by Jesus, that probably means I stayed on shore. I'm going to say it now to you. If you're not living in at least occasional amazement by Jesus, perhaps you're staying on shore. I want to tell you about a time when Jesus really scared me. I've had so many scary moments because I've said yes when he said, let's go. One of the ones happened early in my tenure at Kensington. I came on staff in the year 2000. The very first year I was here, I got asked to go to India. And India became our first global partner in Kenya, both right at about the same time. And I went with Steve Andrews and 3 of our daughters. And it was kind of like, so the let's go was, Jesus said to Craig, let's go to India. And I was kind of like, why me? I'm not literally like a world traveler kind of guy. I was actually having a conversation with Aaron before the service today, and he loves all kinds of different foods, and his favorite is India. And I said, oh, that's my least favorite. And it's like, don't you go to India all the time? I go, yeah. So it's like, I don't know why me, but I knew I was supposed to go. I knew Jesus said, let's go, so I went to India. So what was the storm that came? Well, when I got there, I was so broken by what I saw that I knew God was calling me to do something. And Steve Andrews said, great, Craig, you take the lead on this. So we began to think about and dream about what we could do. And it was like so much chaos and uncertainty, but the burden that I had, and I just felt overwhelmed all the time. And we actually had problems with raising money to do all the things. There were so many needs, all the decisions. It wasn't really my job. It was kind of my side job, and it was just overwhelming. And it really felt like I was white-knuckled in a boat with the waves and the lightning and thunder, and this thing is going to sink, and I don't know what we're supposed to do. And so I just carried this burden for several years, but I knew this is where I was supposed to be. But it just felt awful many times. Sleepless nights, just wrestling with this, and just all the fear about failure, and this is not going to work. And then the people that were counting on us to make it work, and we were going to build a school, an orphanage, and medical clinic, and all the stuff that we were dreaming about. And I want to show you a picture of the very first trip, and that's a vacant field. This is in 2000, December of 2000. The tall guy there is Steve Andrews. My daughter is somewhere in that group. She was 11 years old. And this was a piece of property that was available to purchase for $80,000. And we were praying, they were out there praying, God, would you give this to us? And then we went home, and I kept thinking of this property and $80,000. And then I would get my wallet out to see if I had $80,000. And I had 7, like I do tonight. And so how is this going to work? And there was so much, but I knew I was supposed to be in the boat. And so things began to happen. And 3 years later, I want to show you the picture I took from the same vantage point. 3 years later. That's, all right, so who are we clapping to, right? This was one of my quiet, be still moments. And I was astonished. I was afraid. I was literally almost terrified. And one of the ways that got us there, I have to tell you this story. This is when the real terror hit me. It was one of those moments where I actually said, this is so bad to say as a pastor, but I said, oh, Jesus, you're real. This stuff is real. Because here's what happened. I was at a midweek service in Troy campus, and I had just come back from India the day before. And I realized that we had gotten a certain point in our construction, and we ran out of money, and I met with Jaya, and Jaya said to me, he's our point person in India, and Jaya said, we need $30,000 yesterday. We're stalled right now. And so I got on a plane, I flew home. We have an advisory board here with Impact India 360, and that board met on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and I gave them an update. I was just fresh back from India, and I said, bad news is construction ended up costing more. We ran out of money. We can't complete it. We need $30,000 right now. What do we have in the bank? 0. So then I go up down to the auditorium and I do a message, a midweek message just like this. And I don't know what I taught on. I didn't talk about India. When I got done, I went down to the front. People were waiting to talk to me. And the first man that came up gave me an envelope. And he said, I know you guys are working in India, and God put it on my heart to give you something. So here's something. Just people want to talk to you. Just put it in your pocket. Look at it later. So I did. I put it in my back pocket. A couple people talked to me. A couple more people talked to me. At the very end, there was a couple who I'd never seen before. And they said, listen, we didn't want to get your hopes up, but we have a family foundation in California that works with children. And we put in a grant proposal to get money for India. And we just found out they approved, and they gave us a check. And here's a check. And they handed it to me. And I look at it, and it's $20,000. I didn't ask for it. I didn't go looking for it. It was just handed to me. And so I thanked them, and I think I was tearing up and everything. And then everybody left, and I'm by myself in the auditorium. And I walk over to the side to go in the back, and I remembered this. I pulled it out. I opened it up. How much do you think it was? You guys are smart. Good math, $10,000. And that was one of those moments where I couldn't, it was like maybe the disciples in the boat. I was speechless, and I was alone. Goosebumps, I got them right now again, just reliving the story. And that's when I said, oh, you're real. You're here, you're in the boat with me. I don't know why you told me to go with you to India. I don't think I have the skills that are necessary. I don't think I have the abilities. I don't think I got everything I need to do this. And yet, you said go, and I, for whatever reason, said yes. And I jumped in, and now you just said, peace, be still. By the way, do you know how much fun it was to go up to my office and email my advisory board? I said, wow, you guys are great prayers. This was about 2.5 hours ago, and I have $30,000 in my hand right now for India. Now, what if I had stayed on the shore? It's too risky. I look in the mirror and I say, who am I? I don't have the ability to do this. I don't know anything about India. I don't know anything about raising money. So Jesus doesn't assess you first and tell you, well, okay, I looked at your resume. You got it. He says, let's go on an adventure to the other side. Not to drown in the middle, to the other side. I'm so grateful that later in my life, about halfway through what I would call my adult life, there was a shift that occurred, and I started growing in my willingness to say yes. When he says, let's go. So I'm almost done here. I just want to ask you, just in the quietness of your own heart right now, to say, where has God been saying a let's go to you? By the way, most of mine are not to New York City to plant a church or India. They're not. They're smaller things. Where is he saying, let's go to you? I want to finish by just having you consider this from what we've said. Which question are you going to live in? Are you going to live in don't you care? Which is fear? Or who is this? And I wanted to put terror up there, but it just didn't feel right. Amazement. Which question are we going to live in? Don't you care? Or who is this? Jesus, you're here with us right now. In this boat with us right now. Thank you. And thank you for inviting us to go with you to the other side. Give us the courage, even just a little bit, to take that first step over the side of the boat, into the boat, to be with you, because that's where you are. And then, God, give us the ability to see with amazement who you are more clearly, what you're up to, what you want to do in and through us. Pull us out of a strong need for safety and security and comfort, and a willingness to spend our one life with you on a journey to change our community and to change the world. and maybe in the process, most of all, to change us. Pray this in your name. Amen.
We hope that if you, when you leave here, that you remember this one thing, that God is with you and that you can trust him, and that he's never lost a battle and he never will. So I want to invite you to stand and sing this song with us as we go out celebrating Jesus.
Miracles when you move, such an easy thing for you to do. Your hand is moving right now, showing up, taking over like it's Jericho. Your voice is calling me out. Right now, I know you're able. My God, come through again. You can do all things. You can do all things but fail. You never lost a battle. No, you never lost a battle. I know you never will. Everything is possible. By the power of the Holy Ghost. A new wind is blowing right now, breaking my heart of stone, taking over like it's Jericho. My walls are all crashing down. Right now, I know you're able. My God, come through again. You can do all things.
You can do all things, but
Never lost a battle.
never lost a battle.
Never lost a battle.
Never lost a battle.
I know.
You can do all things. You can do all things. But you never lost a battle. No, you never lost a battle. I know you never will.
No, you never lost a battle.
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 You never lost a
And
battle.
you never will.
You never will.
You never lost a battle.
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 You never lost a battle. You never will. You can do all things. You can do all things. But you never lost a battle. You never lost a battle. I know you never will.
Good decision to come out tonight and have this, right? Thank you so much. Guys, this is very, very awesome. I only have one thing to share with you before we leave tonight. We mentioned it this Sunday. We have an awesome opportunity Friday and Saturday of this week to participate in something we call our Move Out Conference. It's an opportunity to really think about what God might be saying to us about moving out, about getting into the boat with Him. And so it's a series of some inspirational messages, and it's some workshops, and it's held at our Troy campus. It's 7 to 9 and on Friday night, and it's 9 to 12 on Saturday. And there are opportunities to attend in person. Last I checked, there were still some seats available, or you can also go online, but we do need you to register. And I was thinking about, so I'm speaking on Friday night, and I was thinking about my message today. And it's really another message of me saying, who is this? I shared a few months ago that I got mugged in New York City in 2019, and I ended the story there. But I had something about 2 months later in September of that year that was so extraordinary. It happened to me on the sidewalk that it was another stop me in my tracks. You got to be kidding me. Jesus, you're real. You're right here. So I'm going to share that on Friday night as part of my message. But we have some other speakers. It's going to be really inspirational to encourage us to keep moving out. I think this is the church that moves out, but we need to keep moving out because there's lots of work to do. So please consider joining us Friday, Saturday, and if not there, we will see you back here on Sunday. Okay, God bless. Let's go be with the Waymaker, miracle worker.